A quick pregame show here. Reading this week, I've finally gotten past the introduction on this fella right here, Coryat's Crudities. Thomas Coryat was an English travel writer from the 17th century, I believe. Yes, 16th, 17th century, and has the most renown, if this ever comes up in a trivia game. He is renowned for introducing the fork to England from the continent. And so we can, all of us who get our culture from England can thank him for that. But a lot of his, it's a lot of travel writing from when he was walking around on the continent, and he's starting in France, of course, because that's where the boat goes. And it's amazing how many of the remarkable sites he brings up are execution sites. And also how it's such a huge shift in perspective of, like death as spectacle, socially, coming out of the medieval era into the early modern. These sites are not really remarked upon as there's no judgment. It's just an acceptance that there are people that are going to die and it's going to be a public spectacle, and this is where it happens. And there's one paragraph in particular that's kind of that's particularly haunting, as a matter of fact, because in fine travel writing manner, he's going from one thing to the other, and he's like, and that is where we break murderers in the manner of our Roman ancestors, and down the road's a beautiful little church with people who worship that are very sweet, and you find this all over the countryside, and so it's just like right back to back, and it doesn't skip a beat. So I'm super excited to continue reading through it. This is fortunately an abridged version, so it's getting to the good stuff sooner than later. And I've also begun rereading Terry Pratchett's Mort, which is a very different kind of good time. And I've also continued reading Cookie Hipponia's We Belong. Cookie is the guest on the most recent Deltahead podcast, and she's a fantastic writer and an excellent speaker. Highly recommend you take a listen at the latest Deltahead podcast and get to hear her thoughts on sort of social sim games. It's a good time. Evening, Iceman Dan. Evening Time Zombie. Scary? That's a good question. I think it's probably going to be more in the cheesy horror direction than scary. Ghosthead is largely regarded as one of the worst in the franchise. And so I don't think it's going to be that scary. I can't say what the spider content is, since I have never played it before, and this will absolutely be a first time bumbling through of this game. So we'll see how that goes. Evening Viper, it's good to see you. It's been forever. And I've got you in mind. I got you covered. I know about the spiders as a concern. But yeah, so quick. Oh no. Wait, no, me? No. There's still this. This is still here in the background. It's still short hair. It's still long hair. It's not quite cool enough yet to kind of go the whole day with everything, down. So you go half the day with half it pulled back. Then all of a sudden you pull out the little band here, and all of a sudden this part right here is really flat down, and everything else is floofed out back. And it's just like, wow, just got to commit to one or the other for the course of the day. And that's that. Unfortunately, time is coming here in the next few months. Again, October, third favorite month, is time's coming when I'll be able to just kind of keep it down all day. Yeah, no. It's going to be a while before it's short hair again. But to wrap up the pregame show, this is Seijun Suzuki, or rather Suzuki Seijun. I've reached a point where now I feel that it is it makes more sense to use the Japanese convention of surname first and then personal name second. So I'm trying to get into that habit. Suzuki Seijun's The Man with a Shotgun is 1960s color Nikatsu film. It's kind of an attempt at a Western kind of feel. Stranger rolling up into town, he's got a past behind him, but he's not going to share what it is, and he's got a personal mission. And that stranger is played by Hideaki. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna follow through on what I just said. Nitani Hideaki, and who's one of my favorite actors from that period. He's very good, very stoic in a way that is also sort of charming and engaged. It's like he's always observing, and he is also very warm, and so it's a very interesting combination for a sort of detective type figure. And in this one, he plays sort of a more roguish character, and that's not totally his type. Oh no, I get kind of thinner sort of in the back here, which is one of the reasons why the long hair actually benefits me. Oh, this one is good, Iceman Dan. This has a couple of moments that, again, Suzuki does a really good job, especially early in his career, of just telling a straight story, which is not what he's known for, particularly, especially with things like pistol opera. But this is neat, and one of the things I want to look at here is one of the great things about a solid director. A lot of the sort of movies that he did, I believe, were filmed in sets. They're very indoor things. They're very sort of urban stories, and I don't think he has many stories that take place in a wilderness. And this one does, because it's going for sort of a Western feel, and just the director's eye using nature is a very interesting thing, because it's not necessarily about creating a stage. But it is about framing what you find, and some of the framing. Evening, Space Hamlets. Good to see you. We're looking at Suzuki Seijun's The Man with a Shotgun here real quick before we jump into Ghosthead. And so the framing on how he breaks up space using the natural environments that he finds is really neat. This is one of the establishing shots. It's a lumber train that's got a little passenger car here on the very far back. Evening Pop Gun Perry, and thank you for the follow. I actually forgot I still had that little widget up on this particular thing. But yes, good evening, thank you. There's a little traveler car there in the very back where characters are. Anyway, just looking at the way this trestle bridge breaks things up, it's really interesting that the tree line actually extends above the frame, so it cuts it off and everything is perfectly framed in green. And really, I haven't played RDR2, at least not to the point where I would recognize the shot. Yeah, and so, but he's not like anti-sky. This is one of the more interesting sort of like flat depth landscapes, I want to call it, that I've seen, where it's sort of monochromatic, so it cuts out the sense of depth and distance, but clearly based on the way the rocks are moving, it's distant. And so it's neat. It's got kind of a dichromatic, whatever. And then here's another bridge. Bridges are really interesting because they are human structures that fit in with the natural environment that seem to sort of spawn and grow from it. And it's a really good way to introduce a straight line into an otherwise sort of maybe confusing horizon, or confusing site where you're trying to find the horizon. And here's a very lovely establishing shot. Many in the Japanese mountains where a lot of these are filmed, there apparently are so many opportunities to catch these kinds of sort of just mountains cascading into each other, because especially in a lot of the historical dramas that are filmed outside, you get to see a lot of this. And yeah, it's a very neat use of it right here, where all those sort of cascading trajectories are sort of pointing to, or at least hovering about Nitani, because he's the main character, and that makes sense. Yes, bridge is absolutely a show of power, and as a matter of fact, we're going to get to an interesting use of a bridge in that respect in a little bit. There's don't try to scare me. It's all part of Japan. Oh yeah, this is he's going into this area, and somebody is kind of like bootlegger country, right? He's saying, don't go over there, don't go on that mountain. People don't fare well over there, and he's like saying, I don't care, I'm fine. So yeah, it's this sort of Western spirit brought to a movie that is conspicuously set in Japan. But yeah, and again, like another nice use of the bridge there, going back, creating distance, and then arcing off to the right, and really nice framing here of that conversation, nice and off center, and also really, again, just really good diagonals. It's so good, it looks so good. And there we go. Yeah, more bridge. And this is the final nature shot I'll show you, which is a really neat use of distance, where initially as this shot is set up, everything kind of looks, it's kind of hard to tell what distance and what scale things are at, but as soon as this guy on the right sort of enters to aim, he's able to hit somebody all the way at the end of that thing with just a pistol, and good on him, because those things I imagine lose accuracy after like 5 feet. But I don't know. I expect there's it seems like it would be rude to damage local bridges for the sake of a movie. So I'm guessing many of them were probably built for the sake of the film, but I don't know for sure. It's also a nice contrast. You've got your kind of city slicker criminal there with his suit and his giant decorative flower. That's it's charming. Well, no, some of them, some of the bridges, in fact, one of the ones I'll show you here in a second, actually are like they're human bearing, they're load bearing. And it gets conspicuously weird when all of a sudden they shift to what is clearly a set, like that is absolutely painted, and it's a weird transition that I don't know how I feel about it. There's almost sort of like this, I don't know, maybe like David Lynch quality to having the artifice side by side with that lush natural environment. Leave with prime footage. Now that is some brutal auteur activity right there, and yeah, some nice compositions of some physical objects set up there. That's a good clustering junk pile. I like the straight lines and the circles. You've got the clock there on the right and the sort of camera cover in the upper left, kind of alongside a lot of the straight lines that are showing up there in the center. And this nice thing where you have one clock. Yeah, this is kind of a neat setup. It's like a target practice thing. All the clocks are set to the same time. Each participant has to shoot their clock right when the second hand hits 9. So they use that one as their reference, and it's a charming scene. Anyway, this kind of gives me a weird Blair Witch vibe. Like the other two clocks are turning facing the wall because the Blair Witch is about to get you. And this right here, which is again just really nice use of lines with the shadow and the folds of the paper and the shattering of the glass. But so yeah, so this is the storytelling technique that I think is really interesting here. And just to kind of briefly describe it to you, Suzuki does like a time jump, and to connect two moments in the same story scene, in the same story beat that happen at different times. He will use a scene that could plausibly occur in either moment as the connection, and it sort of it sort of makes your brain sort of double check what it just experienced, but then it makes sense afterwards, and I'll kind of show you what I mean. So right here you have let's see, right here you've got the hero. He's crossing this bridge. Again, here's our bridge. He's crossing this bridge, which is somewhat perilous. And here's one of the antagonists who is, kind of chopping at one of the ropes to get him to fall in. And as he does, and there he is, and there you go. So it's a good time had by all. And so there are the mountain folks sort of laughing at him. The outsiders come in and is subject to their pranks. And so then it cuts directly to this, right? So they're crossing another bridge, and the soundtrack, the Foley, everything is the exact same. It's like there's not a break. It does not tell you that this is a separate moment in time. And they're still laughing about it, right? The guys fell straight in. And then it cuts to him hanging out on the river, drying his clothes, clearly a time jump. And this scene right here, this is what is interesting about this sort of storytelling moment. These happen like hours apart. But the way that it is cut, this scene happens, the audio track is unbroken, and it's as though this could follow what happened, and this could also precede what happens. And it connects the two perfectly. And that's really neat. And he does this elsewhere as well. So in this instance, here he is. You see him kind of here in the background. He is entering the house that he's staying at, and then somebody breaks a window, stabs a note to the door, and he picks it up and reads it. Let's have a showdown as promised. High noon. I mean, again, the Western thing. And then the woman who's sort of putting him up in the house is upset with him. Why must you accept this challenge? Again, an instance where this shot right here is plausibly the conclusion of this moment. So standing there, break, knife, read. And it is also plausibly the moment that happens right before this, right? But this is hours later. So there's a time jump, and there is a scene that is used that could end the first time moment and could also begin the second time moment that's used to connect the two. And that's brilliant. That's so cool, because it creates this dynamism, this momentum, and also this brief moment of confusion that you have to sort of, once you overcome it, you understand what's happened. And it is a way of compressing action so you don't have to tell as much unused, unnecessary story, and it really conveys how much exposition you can really cut out of a story and still have it be intelligible. And I think that's just great. That's fantastic, and I have much admiration for it. So, with that in mind, this is our game for the night. Clock Tower Ghost Head. Regarded, I'm told, as one of the worst in the series. Let's see, I picked this up used, and every single Japanese used copy of a game I have ever ordered offline or online has been just immaculately preserved. The care taken with these is stunning. Like, I've even still got the little slip in here that's for you know, what consoles do you play? How often do you play them? Human Entertainment would like to know, like, how many of their games you buy. I'm sorry, Tom Zombie, I missed that comment. Yes, I have never really had good luck photographing light myself. But yeah, yes, I agree, Iceman Dan, especially in a moment of dynamism. It also really does a lot for comedy timing too, comedic timing. Kitano Takeshi is very good at this, where he'll have a setup and then the punchline, but you don't see what happens in between. It's just this very quick, hard cut. Yes, Viper, same. And I have never actually run this disc through my PlayStation, so we're going to see exactly how well it runs here live tonight.